Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. All right. Let me share the screen with all of you. Veludvareyya Sutra. Now, in this sutra, the Buddha goes on to speak about a pattern of practice which would, for the person pursuant of this specific practice, lead the person onto, of course, the experience of nirvana, right? The experience of nirvana. The Buddha's approach within this sutra is sila, the building or the laying of strong foundations of morality in a way that the person who cultivates this sila as pronounced within this sutra would be able to then effectively create the foundations of mind necessary to go into or experience jhana or insight, respectively, bringing about the experience of nirvana. So let us go through the sutra. Thus have I heard the discourse to the people of Bamboo Gate. Velu, bamboo, dwara is gate, Dvareyya Sutra. Thus have I heard. Is the text big enough? Would you like me to increase the size? Yes, of course. There you go. Is that enough? I could do more. Perfect, huh? Okay. All right. The discourse to the people. The discourse to the people of Bamboo Gate. Thus have I heard. At one time, the Blessed One was wandering by stages in the Kosala country with a large community of monks, and in due course arrived at the Brahmin village of Veludvareyya. Here, at one point, what was the Buddha doing? He was here wandering by stages, means he would be traveling from one city or town to another, and during the course of traveling, he would be taking his time to preach, to teach the people who approach. It was a restful travel, meaning he would stop and then sort of travel as it comes. It was not a fast journey, right? So he, with the community, large community of monks, was traveling whilst teaching and preaching to people and in the towns and cities and the little villages that he was passing by, right? He arrived at the Brahmin village of Veludvareyya. The Brahmin house lords of Veludvareyya heard this, meaning the house, not one, but the community of Brahmins in Veludvareyya came to know of, it is said, sirs, that the recluse Gautama, a Sakya son, who went forth from the Sakya clan, has been wandering in Kosala with a large community of monks and has come to Veludvara. Concerning this blessed one, this fair report has been spread about. This fair report has been spread about, which is Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijjacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhammasarathi Sattadeva Manusanam Buddho Bhagavati. Arahant, fully awakened, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, welfare, know of worlds, peerless guide to persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, awakened and blessed. Having realized by his own direct knowledge this world with its gods, its maras, and its brahmas, this generation with its recluses and brahmins, its rulers and people, he makes it known to others, right? Having realized the Dhamma on its own, being a person who lives in this world with gods and maras, brahmas, this generation with other recluses and brahmins, rulers and people, having got to know this Dhamma on his own, he now makes it known to others, teaches it to others. He teaches the Dharma good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, both in spirit and in the letter. He proclaims the holy life that is entirely complete and pure. It is good indeed to see such arahants. Then the Brahmin house lords of Veludvara approached the Blessed One. Having approached, some greeted the Blessed One and sat at one side. Some exchanged greetings with the Blessed One and then sat down at one side. Some exchanged greetings with the Blessed One and then sat down at one side. Some, having saluted the Blessed One with the lotus palms, sat down at one side. Some announced their name and clan before the Blessed One and then sat down at one side. Some kept silent and sat down at one side. Some kept silent and sat down at one side. Sitting thus at one side, the Brahmin house lords of Veludvara, the community of Brahmins, said to the Blessed One, Master Gautama, we have such desires, such wishes, such hopes. May we dwell in a home crowded with children. May we enjoy Kasi sandalwood, meaning luxury of, May we wear garlands, scents, and makeup, right? Things to adorn the body. May we enjoy gold and silver, right? Money. When the body breaks up after death, may we be reborn in a good destination, in a heavenly world. As we have such desires, such wishes, such hopes, May Master Gautama teach us the Dharma in such a way that we might dwell in a home crowded with children. we might enjoy cars in sandalwood. We might wear garlands and scents and makeup. We might enjoy gold and silver. And when the body breaks up after death, may we be reborn in a good destination in a heavenly world. Thus, I chose this sutra for all of you as well. Right. I will teach you, house lords, a Dharma teaching of self-application. Listen, pay close attention, and I will speak. Right? And I will speak. Yes, sir. The Brahmin house lords of Veludvareyya replied in assent to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said, what house lords is a dharma of self-application? Right? Now, self-application has three parts. Right? Has three parts, which is you adhere to it, you get others to adhere to it, and you speak of the benefits of it as well, right? He abstains, he exhorts others to abstain, and he speaks in praise of abstaining, right? This is what is referred to as self-application, right? The Pali word for self-application is attupanaikang dhammang pariyaya. Attupanaikang dhammang pariyaya. Here, the self-application covers three bands of areas which further instills the person to follow upon the practice. We are social beings. We are, in a way, the people that we have around us, the company that we choose to associate. Whilst we adhere to practices which might be wholesome, which are wholesome in this aspect, we exhort to others to adhere by the same, not expecting that they listen to you entirely, but as a Kalyana Mitra or as a good person, this is what you would exhort others to do as well. Right? This is not in any way a type of missionary, but this is really in the aspect or by the volition of supporting others around you. And then speaking in praise of such practices. If we are to take it or look at it in a completely different way, or not completely different, but in a different manner, this is to devote oneself entirely to that wholesome practice, right? To that wholesome practice. Meaning, there are certain things that we do and we do alone, and the world does not know. When the world does not know, when no one knows, at times it can be challenging, because if we do want to break it or to transgress, then we are free to do so as well, because there is no protective barrier, right? In maintaining or having company that is aligned or who knows what you're practicing and what you preach as well, you add layers of protection to yourself as well. Do you understand? Right? You add layers of protection. Now, in the monastic code, in the bhikkhu's monastic code, we have this practice known as the confession, right? Confession, where when a mistake or a Vinaya rule is broken, a confession is carried out. And certain confessions, depending on what rule is broken, you have to confess before the dawn of the next day, right? You have to confess before the dawn of the next day. Now, these confessions are brought or have been taught by the Buddha to be carried out as a part of the community, as a part of the Sangha, so that you are authentic to the people that you are around, in a way that the people around you also sort of act as a protective element to your practice, aiding you in your practice, right? So here, house lords, a noble disciple reflects thus: I am one who wishes to live, who does not wish to die, who desires happiness, who dislikes suffering. I am one who wishes to live, who does not wish to die, who desires happiness, who dislikes suffering. Since I am one who wishes to live and does not wish to die, who desires happiness and dislikes suffering, if someone were to take my life, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to me. Now, if I were to take the life of another, of one who wishes to live, who does not wish to die, who desires happiness, who dislikes suffering, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to him. Now, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. Indeed, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. How can I inflict what is undesirable and disagreeable to me upon another? The moral standard that we lay. Having reflected thus, he himself abstains from destroying life. He exhorts others to abstain from destroying life. And he speaks in praise of abstaining from destroying life. Thus, his bodily conduct is purified in three respects. Where are we trying to reach? The Buddha is preaching to persons who are interested in living a comfortable, if not luxurious, household life, and upon the decay of the body, upon death, be also reborn in a plane of existence, which is recognized as a heavenly abode. Right? The Buddha is preaching to persons who have that kind of an interest. Right? That kind of an interest. The first V is respect for life. The second is respect for the not given. Furthermore, house lords, a noble disciple reflects thus. If someone were to take from me what I have not given, that is, to steal from me, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to me. Now, if I were to take from another what has not been given, that is to steal from him, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to him. Now, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. Indeed, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. How can I inflict what is undesirable and disagreeable to me upon another? Hence, having reflected thus, he himself abstains from taking the not given, right? He exhorts others to abstain. Abhidhamma students, maybe we can think about what abstaining is in terms of the chittas and the chaitasikas separately, right? Which is interesting. And we are also going to go into that as well, right? So the question, because we'll be reading abstaining a lot, through consciousness, what is abstaining? And through the chaitasikas, what is abstaining? Right? Essentially, what is sila? Right? So think about that as we read as well, okay? From taking the not given, he exhorts others to abstain from taking the not given. He speaks in praise of abstaining from taking the not given. Thus, his bodily conduct is purified in three respects. His bodily conduct is purified in three respects. Purified in three respects, right? Some of us just fulfill this one, the first, and we take satisfaction in that as well. But as we know, sila, the purification of sila does not complete itself wholly on simply abstaining ourselves. It goes a little bit beyond that, where the persons around, maybe our families, our closest of friends, also do take a sense of, in a way, what is the word? Not responsibility, but how the people close to us also has or draws a certain nature of inclination, if I might put it in that way, inclination in our minds. I don't steal, but what if my best friend steals? And what if I've known that he or she has steals for the longest time? Am I mentally in agreement to that action of stealing? Hence, is my sila pure? This is not to say that we can change persons entirely. This is not to say so. This is speaking about our own inclinations of mind. Because sometimes I don't do it, but I vicariously, through other people, enjoy I vicariously enjoy through people, the wrong that I do not commit. Right? This is speaking about that nature of mind. There it starts, okay. Vicariously enjoy through other people what I do not do, but it happens. Now, he himself abstains from taking the not given. He exhorts others to abstain from taking the not given, and he speaks in praise of abstaining from taking the not given. Thus, his bodily conduct is purified in three respects. In three respects. Then we move on to the respect for the body. Attention to how in the sutra they would go on to respect for the not given, respect, sorry, bye. Sorry, birthday wishes from Sri Lanka. It started 12 o'clock. All right. Respect for the not given. How in protecting, now what we are going through is in the Dasa Kusala, the first 7 of the Dasa Kusala. That is what we are going through, right? And of course, the precepts, we can see how it aligns to the precepts. The keeping of the precepts aligns to, of course, in the seal or in the spirit of virtue, how it aligns to purifying or further purifying our sila in 3 respects. But it also sort of speaks about in the spirit of respecting this skandha, this panchaskandha, right? This panchaskandha. Meditatively, at points we experience where this skandha, the ajaktika dharmas and the bahira dharmas, become in a way linked, right? The ajaktika and the bahira dharmas become linked. In this regard, when the person who sees, or with the practitioner who sees, the internal and the external in terms of the beings who we share this experience with, in the same respect that I hold myself, that allows the practice to flourish and bloom. Do you understand? Right? The respect for the body. Furthermore, house lords, a noble disciple reflects thus: if someone were to have affairs with my women folk, with my women folk, as if women are objects, yeah. That would be neither desirable or agreeable to me. Now, If I were to have affairs with the women folk of another, that would be neither desirable or non-agreeable to him too. Now, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. Indeed, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. How can I inflict what is undesirable and disagreeable to me upon another? Attanang upamankatva. Taking ourselves as a standard. If this hurts me, why would I inflict this upon another? Right? Upon another. Threefold, having reflected thus, he himself abstains from sexual misconduct. He exhorts others to abstain from sexual misconduct, and he speaks in praise of abstaining from sexual misconduct. In often aspects, in often circumstances, in most circumstances, in line with the pain experienced by a being who becomes a victim to our transgressions, in accordance to that pain, we tend to experience the karmas of. However, the Buddha in this sutra is not speaking about karma. The Buddha within this sutra is speaking about cultivating a foundation where a practitioner can stand on the foundations of sila to continue to flourish in the practice. Supported by strong, powerful efforts made in terms of, one, abstinence, and then further purifying those abstinences, right? Further purifying those abstinences which would, as we already know, cultivate a sense of, or rather cultivate chittas and chetsikas, karmas, energies, trihetuka energies, which would support in the practice. Right? For the person who has a sense of awareness towards nirvana, this becomes a paramita. To the person who wants to live a full life with the comforts of, or the comforts that this world has to offer, this becomes a kusala. In a way, now that this person would be able or would be protected from those disturbances of karmas that would come his way. The respect for truth. Furthermore, house lords, a noble disciple reflects thus: if someone were to damage my welfare with false speech, if someone were to damage my welfare with false speech, that would be neither desirable or agreeable to me. Now, if I were to damage the welfare of someone else with false speech, that would be neither desirable or agreeable to him too. Now, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. Indeed, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. Hence, how can I inflict what is undesirable and disagreeable to me upon another? Upon another. Having reflected thus, he abstains from false speech. He exhorts others to abstain from false speech. He speaks in praise of abstaining from false speech. From the first one, he abstains. He cultivates mental and physical strength brought about by self-abstinence. From the second one, he exhorts others to abstain. He develops what we know as, or what we might have heard to be, parivara sampatti. Also, kalyana mitrata. Both of those people, kalyana mitras, who support or who are there for you in support of the path. Two, people who are there to love and support you in doing good. Parivara sampatti and kalyana mittata. Both of these things are very important, isn't it? Right? The third, he speaks in praise of abstaining, brings to you, there are certain people in our life that we meet, they're good in nature, but they do not tell you what is good. Right? Then there are people who are good in nature and they have enough knowledge and confidence to also relate to you what is right and true. That is very important. People who relate the Dhamma to you, the right, the correct, the truth to you, that teachers, if we might use that term, teachers, gurus, support in a way. How is that gain? He speaks in praise of abstaining. This is what you then do. Now, based on the practice of sila, you have cultivated your mind and body, right? Or karmas that bring about a good right and body for the practice. Parivar sampatti and kalyana mittata. And from the third, teachers and gurus who help you understand the Dhamma, who help you to come into realizations with regards to the path of practice. So through the sila, how we perfect that area as well. Now, the fifth, respect for harmony. Furthermore, house lords, a noble disciple reflects thus: if someone were to divide me from my friends with diversive speech, that would be neither desirable or non-agreeable to me. Now, if I were to divide someone else from his friends with divisive speech, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to him. Now, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. This term, now usually what we find is, when it comes to morality in certain circumstances, another person sets the standard, or we follow along the standard laid by a certain structure or a certain sort of higher entity, a person, right? We follow upon. Or in other cases, we follow upon God. The moral standards sort of placed by a divine figure, In Buddhism, we do not subscribe to the standards of a person, nor do we subscribe to the standards laid down by an entity known as the divine or God. We do not subscribe to the standards of a person, neither do we subscribe to the standards of God. We subscribe to the human experience. Is that clear? It makes a world of difference. We subscribe to life and the life experience, a human experience. That is where the Buddha never says that this is wrong because it is said by me or taught by the Buddha, and he does not sort of lay the foundations for morality. But he speaks of what is desirable by a person and what is not, what brings benefit and what brings hurt and harm to a person, taking oneself as an example, one's feelings as an example, one's Vedana as an example, one's perception as an example. We use that as a measuring yardstick to measure the harm or the benefit that we bring to the world or to ourselves through our actions. Indeed, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. How can I inflict what is undesirable and disagreeable to me upon another? Having reflected thus, he himself abstains from speech, from divisive speech. He exhorts others to abstain from divisive speech. And he speaks in praise of abstaining from divisive speech. Thus, his verbal conduct is purified in 3 respects. In a similar manner, furthermore, house lords, a noble disciple reflects thus: if someone were to address me with harsh speech, that would be neither desirable nor non-agreeable to me. Now, if I were to address someone else with harsh speech, now this harsh speech, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to him. Now, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. That is the most important thing, everyone, with regard to Sila, right? With regard to Sila. Now, even if with all the things that's going about, isn't it? With all the things that are going about with our country, with the UK, with everything going about in the world, right? Although these figures that we might talk about and sort of speak about and comment very harshly upon, right? This is also something that we have to take into account. What if we find people living all across the world, or, ourselves in a certain circumstance, talking very harshly about ourselves as well, right? If I do not like it, I do not do it to another person. Simple as that. Simple as that. Of course, it might, sound very simple put into sentences, but when it comes to practice, it becomes quite difficult, isn't it? Right? We do not subscribe to anything. We do not act upon with hate, with lust, with delusion to any. We do not enact upon those akusalas in any regard if we do not prefer it ourselves. If we might feel low in mind, low as a being, low as a practitioner in any way, in public or behind closed doors, we do not do it. Why? Because it hinders the clarity of mind. It hinders the confidence. It hinders meditative growth. It hinders spiritual stability. Because of that reason, that is why we find, I mean, if we take circumstances such as this harsh speech, sometimes it might be, we might be able to say, you know, this is called for, that the person on the receiving end is deserving of the harsh speech, right? We might say so. But if we put ourselves into that circumstance, do we or would we like to classify ourselves in that same position? If not, no, then we do not commit on it as well. Yeah. Indeed, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. How can I inflict what is undesirable and disagreeable to me upon another? He himself abstains from harsh speech. He exhorts others to abstain from harsh speech. He speaks in praise of abstaining from harsh speech. Remember, everyone, the question was asked by the Brahmas of Veludvareyya. The question was, we want to live a comfortable human life, and upon death, be reborn in the heavenly abodes. If the question was, Bhante, how do we live a comfortable life, and upon death or through or at this same life, how do we attain to Nibbana? Mind you that the practice would have been far more, it should be far more than challenging. This is for living a comfortable life and upon death being reborn in the heavenly realms. Do we understand? Now, if we want to attain Nibbana, everyone, right, this would be the basic ask. Do you understand? The basic ask, right? Harsh speech, word, purified in the three respects. Respect for useful speech, useless speech here. Furthermore, house lords. Respect for useful speech. Furthermore, house lords, a noble disciple reflects thus. If someone were to address me with frivolous talk and idle chatter, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to me. Now, if I were to address someone else with frivolous talk and idle chatter, that would be neither desirable nor agreeable to him. Now, a bit of context, right? I think over the time, idle chatter, frivolous talk and idle chatter has become somewhat fashionable, right? Especially in this time that we live in, it is usually idle chatter and frivolous talk is somewhat sort of fashionable, right? It is part and parcel of our social lives almost, right? But back in the day, in terms of the Buddha, human beings or humans had far more respect in terms of speech. And idle chatter or idle and frivolous talk and chatter was actually, it was seen to be a very low, poor thing to do. For example, it was like poor pub talk in a way, because they won't have anything to speak about themselves because all they did was work for others. Hence, they would also speak about others. But people who had something, people who sort of would have something substantial, who would be doing important things in terms of in that manner, right? Not to mean in any sort of offense, would not entail in frivolous talk and idle chatter in that manner. Right? So it was seen as something which was poor and a low practice. Right? On a karmic scale, idle chatter would always be seen. You have to chat about something or someone, right? This would then sort of come back to the faithfulness that we would find in our relationships around karmically. And also the importance that would be given to the words that we speak, the weight our words carry, right? That would be the result according to the Mahalakkana Sutra. That would be what the Buddha says with regards to frivolous talk and idle chatter. That would be neither desirable nor agreeable to him too. Now, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. Indeed, what is undesirable and disagreeable to me is undesirable and disagreeable to others too. How can I inflict what is undesirable and disagreeable to me upon another? Having reflected thus, he himself abstains from frivolous talk and idle chatter. He exhorts others to abstain from frivolous talk and idle chatter. And he speaks in praise of abstaining from frivolous talk and idle chatter. Thus, verbal conduct is purified in 3 respects. When this foundation of the first 7 dasa kusalas are established, a person lives a life where the person is not in doubt, where the person does not live in fear, where the person has the clarity of life unhindered by mundane difficulties brought about by karmic difficulties, etc., where the person can cultivate a mind focused upon samadhi and one-pointedness. Upon that base, when the person adverts to a certain object, the person is able to take that object with pristine clarity of mind, with which he cultivates the limbs of a stream winner. Through the seal that has now been fulfilled, the person now cultivates faith in the Buddha. He has wise faith in the Buddha with wisdom. Thus too, he is the Blessed One, for he is Arahat, fully awakened one, accomplished in wisdom and conduct, welfarer, knower of worlds, peerless guide of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. Faith in the Dhamma. He has wise faith in the Dhamma. Well taught is the Blessed One's Dhamma. Visible here and now, having nothing to do with time, inviting one to come and see, accessible to be personally known by the wise. faith in the Sangha. He has wise faith in the Sangha thus. The Blessed One's community of disciples keeps to the good way. The Blessed One's community of disciples keeps to the straight way. The Blessed One's community of disciples keeps to the right way. The Blessed One community keeps to the proper way. These four pairs of persons, the 8 individuals, are the Blessed One's community of disciples, worthy of offerings, worthy of hospitality, worthy of gifts, worthy of salutation, with the lotus palm, a supreme field of merit. He has the virtues dear to noble ones, unbroken, untorn, unmixed, spotless, liberating, paired with the praised by the wise and untarnished. This is to say, this speaks about, this is further elaborated in the Vishuddhimagga, where this speaks about morality, which has your or the practitioner's fullest commitment. Where, for example, if we take, let us say, sexual misconduct, we might not entail in the act itself, however, we might allure to, right? Indirectly, we might not lie, but we might give facial expressions, or we might make another person feel something or come to believe in something other than which is the truth. That is what unbroken, untorn, unmixed, spotless, liberating, praised by the wise and untarnished is. The more the person has no guilt in any regard to the tarnishing of morality, the strength of the practitioner increases moment by moment, day by day. The person comes to solidify oneself upon a foundation that is bound towards nirvana, a mind that is very much capable of adverting to an object without the frivolous actions of vitarka and vichara coming to disturb the mind, and the samadhi that the mind can experience with different doubts which could arise towards one's own self and person. That is why this has been so taught by the Buddha, so that the person can have that sort of foundation to stand upon. The benefits. When house lords, the noble disciple has the 7 virtuous qualities, and these 4 desirable states. What are the 7 qualities? Just to go over it again. The praise of life, not killing, right? Not killing. Not stealing. Respect for what, for the not given. Respect for the body. Respect for the truth. Respect for harmony. Not මිනිස්සු අතර බේද ඇති කරන්නේ නැහැ. Respect for harmony. Respect for proper speech, 6. And respect for useful speech, 7. With these, the benefits, look at the benefits. The Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, connected with the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, the benefits, according to this sutra, when house lords, the noble disciple has these 7 qualities and these 4 desirable states. If he wishes, he could by himself declare of himself, destroyed is hell for me. කවදාවත් මම මේ සසරේ ආපහු නිරය ගත වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Destroyed is the animal birth for me. Kavadavat mang apaw me sasare di apaw tirachana bhumiyකට pat වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Destroyed is the realm of the departed. Kavadavat apaw mam me sasare di preta gati ආදියට වැටෙන්නේ නැහැ. Destroyed is the plane of misery, the bad born, the lower realms. Duggati bhumiwan වලට මං ආපහු මේ සසරෙදි පත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. The person who abstains and keeps to those first 7, not even the whole 10, the first 7 of those wholesome karmas, right? The first 7. A stream winner I am, no longer bound for the lower world, sure of going over to self-awakening. And then upon hearing this sutra, the Brahmins of Veludvareyya take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the community of monks. May Master Gautama remember us as lay followers who have gone for refuge from this day forth for life. From this day forth for life, right? Now, that is the end of the sutra, right? That is the end of the sutra, which is to say, the meditation that we often do and the success, the meditation that one would experience is often attributed to the self-value that we place as well. Whilst this practice is one that gets rid of self, up until we do, self is something which also must be treated in a certain way, where we do not, or the self that we do have is not, or is distanced from the touch of the hindrances, the taints, the ogres, the yogas, and things that dirty and taint the self. That is important. Just because we are on a path, a journey of getting rid of self, completely annihilating this sense of self, and through the attainment of nirvana, it is not to say that we do not care about self. We understand the complexities of self, and we work in a manner that we distance or we subscribe to a self that is prudent, robust, and has the ability to subscribe to a way of life which leads to nirvana. And as we do, we slowly get rid of self entirely and completely, right? Entirely and completely. So with all the negativity and even the pleasures that we do experience in the world, whilst we do experience and go through all of these different experiences through the salayatanas, we find ourselves in a position where time and time again our sort of mental status is questioned. Is it, we fall from one extreme to another. That is where this practice, we must find a balance where we would be able to keep ourselves focused in Yoniso Manasikara, where we would be able to now sort of stick to that practice, right? To that practice. Now, we have a little bit more time. What are we going to do? Of course, a little bit more information, right? Now, what do we think, right? Okay, coming here. What do we think when we think about the Chetasikas, right? Chetasikas. What is Sila? right? What is sila? Any ideas, anyone? Then what is sila? Yes.
The abstinences, Bhante. Right action, right speech, right livelihood.
Okay. The abstinences. Right. Yes. That is part and parcel of sila. Right. Now that is part and parcel. So Dil, I would like to ask, the abstinences or abstinence?
Abstinence, because so there's right speech, there's right action, and right livelihood, isn't it, Bhante? So abstaining from those is sila. That's what you were saying, abstinence.
Yeah. So abstinence.
Yeah.
Abstinence.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about a quality.
Yeah.
We're talking about a quality, no? Right. Sorry about that. Not that screen. This one. Huh? What are you seeing, everyone? Are you seeing the Dhamma Center webpage?
No, it's just blanks, and Dhamma Center has started screen sharing. Now we can see you.
Okay. Right. Vishuddhimagga. Right. Now, the characteristic, function, manifestation, and proximate cause. Now, we are used to these words, Abhidhamma, with the study of Abhidhamma, isn't it? Right? Oh, you can't see. Let me increase it. There you go. All right, everyone. Now, characteristic. What is the characteristic of sila? Right. The characteristic of it is composing. Even when analyzed in various ways, as visibility is of visible data, even when analyzed in various ways. Just as visibleness is a characteristic of visible database, even when analyzed into the various categories of blue, yellow, etc., because even when analyzed into these categories, it does not exceed visibleness. So, also the same composing described above as a coordinating of bodily action, etc., as the foundation of profitable states is a characteristic of virtue. What? As a foundation of profitable states is a characteristic of virtue, even when analyzed into the various states, various categories of volition, etc. Because even when analyzed into these categories, it does not exceed the state of coordination and foundation. Is that understood? No. Right? What it means, right, does not exceed the stage of coordination and foundation. The characteristic of it is composing, right? Here, when we take sila, right, just taking yourself, just imagine, just think about the last time that you took up the precepts. And when you did, and you had such a wonderful time, keeping the precepts, listening to Dhamma, meditating, and doing all those wholesome things. keeping to the precepts brought about a sense of collectedness and composure and a sense of sort of foundation in a way for the mind to be in a certain state. Right? Composed, collected, together. Sila has that characteristic. Yeah. If because of Sila, or you might think so, if because of Sila, it brings about a state of restlessness, then there is a certain weakness. Sila as a characteristic has the element or the nature of composing, bringing a person together in a way, into a state of coordination and foundation. Yeah. While such is its characteristic, its function has a double sense. Action to stop misconduct. Action to stop misconduct. Then achievement as the quality of blamelessness in virtuous men. Then achievement as the quality of blamelessness in virtuous men. Is that understood? Its function, it has two. One is the action to stop misconduct, and the achievement or the blamelessness, right? Achievement as a quality of blamelessness in virtuous men. Do you understand its function? Right? Useful? Yeah? So what is called virtue should not be understood to have the function nature of stopping misconduct as its function in the sense of action, and a blameless function as its function in the sense of achievement. For under characteristics, etc., it is action or it is achievement that it is called function, right? Function. Now, virtue, so they say, now virtue. So say those who know itself as purity will show. And for its proximate cause, they tell the pair conscious and shame. Conscious and shame. Awareness, the pair of awareness and shame. Do you get it? The proximate cause of virtue, the proximate cause of virtue is conscious. If you're not conscious, how in the world is there going to be abstinence? So awareness of what you're doing. Conscious and shame. Right? That becomes the proximate cause. Vishuddhimagga, page number 12. Right? So you can refer it later on. This virtue is manifested as the kinds of purity stated thus. This virtue manifests bodily purity, verbal purity, and mental purity. It is manifested, comes to be apprehended as a pure state, of the being. But conscious and shame are said by those who know to be its proximate cause, its near reason is the meaning. We get that. We understand what proximate cause is. For when conscious and shame are in existence, virtue arises and persists. Virtue arises and persists. And when they are not, It neither arises nor persists. That is why, everyone, in the sutra, we protect and abstain from something on our own. But our Kalyana Mitras, our closest, don't know anything about it. Sometimes some people are so good at it that other people don't need to know. However, having persons around you who know what you're trying to practice also keeps you from sort of making excuses for yourself. Right? The shame aspect. Right? Also, Kalyana Mitras who tell you, hey, you don't do that, do you? Right? Bring out that sense of awareness. You know, you're not a person who does that sort of thing. Hey, what you're doing is wrong. What are you doing? Yeah, who reminds you, brings you to a state of awareness over what is happening. Again, conscious and shame. Right? This is how virtue's characteristic function, manifestation, proximate cause should be understood. Should be understood. Now, we are going up to now. Yeah. Here, this part. What is virtue? On page number 10. If you would like to read afterwards as well. Right? What is virtue? It is the states beginning with the volition present in one who abstains from killing living things, etc. Again, it is the states beginning with volition present in one who abstains from killing living thing, quote unquote, abstains, right? Or in one who fulfills the practice of the duties, fulfills the practice of the duties. Me deval mama karanne naha. For this is said in the Patisambhida. What is virtue? There is virtue as volition, virtue as conscious concomitant, virtue as restraint, virtue as non-transgression. Right? Virtue as non-transgression. Visit this again. Afterwards, read it slowly. Herein, virtue as volition. Virtue as volition is a volition present in one who abstains from killing living things, etc., or in one who fulfills the practice of duties. I will not kill, I will not steal, I will not take something which is not given to me. I have a wife, I have a husband, I have a partner. I will not transgress on my morals. I will not lie. These things. The volition that arises to say, I am going to abstain, I am not going to subscribe to this way of behavior. Virtue as consciousness concomitant is the abstinence in one who abstains from killing living things, so on. Furthermore, okay, virtue as consciousness concomitant is the abstinence in one who abstains from killing living things and so on, right? Furthermore, virtue as volition is the 7 volitions that of the 10 courses of karma, which we have already done, right? The first 7 of the 10 courses of karma, which we have just done in the sutra. Understood, everyone? Right? In one who abandons the killing of living things and so on. Virtue as conscious concomitants is the 3 remaining, is the states consisting of non-covetousness, non-ill will, and right view stated in the beginning of abandoning covetousness. Right? This is to say, virtue as conscious, meaning chetasika. Here, conscious concomitants, chetasika. Right? So, virtue in as a chetasika comes to be non-covetousness, non-ill will, and right view. Okay? And right view. Stated in the way beginning, abandoning covetousness. He dwells with a mind free of covetousness. Right? They're quoted from the Digha Nikaya. Virtue as restraint should be understood here as restraint in 5 ways. Restrained by the rules of the community, Patimokka Sambara Sila. Restrained by mindfulness. Restrained by knowledge. Restrained by patience. Restrained by energy. Now, what is this? Hari. Patimokka Sambara Sila is clear. The rules and regulations. The rules and regulations. Restrained by mindfulness, awareness-based restraint, right? Awareness-based restraint, right? Restrained by knowledge. We know in doing certain things, it might not be clear, or it might not be sort of printed across it to say, do not do this, but we know doing it will lead to harm. For example, we know that touching an open flame will burn you, right? Restrained by patience. Restrained by patience is, for example, it is cold outside, right? It is cold outside. You go out and you make, let us say, you make a whole sort of dance outside because it's cold, right? The mind losing awareness, giving into the cold. Do you understand? It's hot outside. The mind losing its cool, losing its calm, and giving, you know how this happens, right? You make noises, you complain about it, you cry about it, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't, you know what I mean, right? This is not to say, I mean, you might not be essentially doing something bad. However, what you are warranting yourself to is a fact of lack of restraint in understanding that is a circumstance. Right? That is restraint by patience. Being patient. The restraint by energy. Right? By energy, how one brings about restraint. Herein, restraint by Patimokka is this. He is furnished, fully furnished with this Patimokka restraint. Restrained by mindfulness, he guards the eye faculty, enters upon restraint of the eye faculty. Restrained by knowledge is the currents in the world that flow, Ajita, said the Blessed One, are stemmed by means of mindfulness. Restrained by the currents I proclaim, by understanding they are damned. Right? Awareness over the reality, the currents of the world. Mindfulness. And the use of prerequisites here combined with this. But what is a restraint by patience? Is that given in the way beginning, he is one who bears cold and heat. There you go, right? Bears cold and heat, right? Now, I remember this. I did not read this before, but I remember this because this was something that our teachers would say. We were not supposed to make a sound when it was cold, when it was freezing, when it was hot. They would say, put up with it. You're not supposed to really sort of react to those things, not because they're evil people, because the mind is far more stronger than the temperature around. Right? The mind is far more, but you are not allowing the mind to become strong when you think that it is right to react in this manner, to not have the restraint. Right? To not have the restraint. I remember a fellow monk of mine, a friend of mine, he had broken a Vinaya rule and he had been given this punishment, which is a Vinaya punishment. You have to go through a penance period, Abbana Manatta. Right? And my friend, and usually when you're sort of given this sort of punishment, you're not given, you're separated from the Sangha and you're given a sort of a abode for the night, sort of away from all the other rest of the monks. So my friend was sort of doing this because he had broken a precept, and he was given this sort of, it was like a sort of, it was kind of like a shed with like asbestos sort of roof, and it was the walls were just like, I don't know, some other shoddy thing. It was really cold inside, right? So it was a part of his punishment was he had to be there for one night, right? And it was pretty cold as well, no heating or nothing. And you can't really, a part of the punishment is that you can't make it comfortable for him as well, right? So he kind of the temperature had gone down to like -1, right? 0 or -1 or something like that. It was quite like cold, right? And my friend, who was also a meditator, was like meditating through the night, right? In the shed. He could not sleep, but he was meditating through the night, right? Meditating through the night. That is what restraint by patience is, right? And restraint of patience also comes, everyone, when it comes to the posture in meditation, right? To the posture in meditation. And what is called restraint by energy is that given given in the way beginning, he does not endure thought of sense desire when it arises. When a karma chanda arises, he does not give energy, or he pushes that away. He does not give heed to that thought. That is restrained by energy. Purification of livelihood is here combined with this. So this fivefold restraint and the abstinence in clansmen who dread evil from any chance of transgression met with should all be understood as virtue of restraint, right? As virtue of restraint. So the rest I will leave for you to read if you are interested in pursuing what that sila is. The page is, this whole section starts from page number 10 of the Vishuddhimagga, right? So that is the end of the sutra for today. Why is everyone yawning time to time today? My gosh, was the sutra that boring? Right. Any questions, anyone?
Bhante, can I ask a question, please?
Yes,
Bhante?
yes, yeah.
It might be very basic and it will just show my ignorance. But when you were starting reading this, before you came to the restraints of mindfulness, knowledge, patience, and energy, the part before, somewhere, am I right? Now, these are like, I mean, just an association that came, I may be completely off the mark, Bhante, and please help me. But like when they were talking, the first bit they were talking about the 7. So actually, those are like, when you look, it's like the seal that you look about your actions and speech, because the actions and speech were the 7. And later on, when you were telling Bhante, it's a 7, not even the 10, that if you do the 7 properly, the 10 comes when the defilements, the mind comes, isn't it? And that's like the greed, hatred, and delusion, right? So I sort of drew a parallel there. And I think here it was referring several times about, so that seal is really like the dasakusa, like the 3, whatever.
Yeah.
So that is like the parallel in a sort of a basic, simple way. And Vishuddhimagga is much more. Right. Okay, Bhante.
It is a dasa kusala. The first 7 of the dasa kusala.
Thank you, Bhante. And when
Yeah.
you become to 10, you bring the mental one, which is the other 3 things, which is the Lobha, and the Moha.
Yeah. The thing is, like what we said, the question was, how do I live a comfortable lay life and upon death go into the divine realms? But the interesting part is that the Buddha, he does go on to say, even with the 7 out of the 10 dasa kusal and faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, one is able to achieve, or he relates to the limbs of stream entry as faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, right? Which is really to say, with the sila, the clarity of mind will arise. With the clarity of mind, one can take an object with clarity. And with that taking of object, what do we take as object? Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Right, which leads, or which in this case is spoken about as the limbs of stream entry. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Samantha is asking, Bhante, what do you say? Right. Right. Bhante, what do you say? It's like Samantha is like, Bhante, what are you saying? All right. How one gets rid of the notion of self from observing sila, right? How does one get rid of the notion of self by observing sila? Well, this sutra, specifically Samantha, if you're talking about this sutra that we have gone over, we know the sutra speaks about the attainment of sotapanna, or the first stage of stream entry. It is not talking about arhanship. It is talking about getting us started on the pathway, confirming enlightenment in a way, right? Confirming enlightenment in a way. So we are not really talking about getting rid of the whole of self, right? However, if we are talking about getting rid of the notion of self, we cannot get rid of the notion of self just with sila. That's point blank, the answer to your question. However, what we can do is we can soften the grossness of self. We soften the grossness of self through sila. That is where, when the sila is present, we are then able to look at, or we are able to look at the more grosser, coarser sort of hindrances which are present within us. But it is very important, might I add, very important for us not to take the Dhamma practice, or take this sort of endeavor that we might be finding ourselves in any way associated with ego, or in any way associated with a higher sense of being. Do you understand what I mean? Like, even I remember at PAOK, or even at Mahasi, the monks who would be given the ability to sort of lead, and all of them, all these monks were like super humble, right? They did not consider themselves higher than everyone else, although they were senior and they were sort of seasoned meditators, right? They were very humble, they were down to earth, and the Buddha's focus is always about, right? The Buddha's focus is always about working on yourself. And in talking about abstaining, or sort of preaching this sense of abstinence to another person, the Buddha does not say, get these people to do it. No, the Buddha speaks about a sense of understanding that people, of course, are individuals with individual tendencies, strengths, and weaknesses. And we appreciate that uniqueness as well. right? So we do not try to change people in order to become like us or bring them up to our level or something higher. That is not our duty to do. That is not a duty of a Kalyana Mitra. A Kalyana Mitra, if the Kalyana Mitra thinks that this person is high or this person is sort of like the path show in a way, taking up the course of the Buddha himself, the Kalyana Mitra is deluded. You know what I mean? Right? A Kalyana Mitra is a person who walks the path with you. A Kalyana Mitra is not someone who kind of like, who kind of like tries to do something for you that the Buddha also didn't do, which is hold your hand and pull you across the path, which is very important to understand. Because sometimes, on the premise that we assume that we know better, we try to sort of play out our own hindrances. We try to play out our own hindrances. Do you understand what I mean? This is something really to be careful about, because this practice, or especially when it's just sila and there's no meditation or something like that, it can very easily, and we know and we've seen, it can very easily turn into a toxic ego that just simply repels people away, right? It can very easily turn there, right? So other people's journeys, we must not appreciate, but more rather accept the fact that other people are also on their journeys, right? Just because we come to realize something does not mean that other people will or have to come to realize them themselves. You know what I mean? Because if we assume so, we now start sort of fostering these toxic mentalities, which is not in line with the Kalyana Mitra. Yeah. I hope I've answered your question, Samantha, and a little bit extra as well.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante. That was excellent. Yeah.
Padma, did you want to say something?
I may have missed it, but I was thinking of the 5 precepts. And where does Surameraya Manjapamadana come into it? I mean, I don't know whether I missed it somewhere when you were saying it.
Well. Well, you've not missed it, right? Because Surameraya, it is not there. Right? It is not there. Now, I thought at one point maybe this question will come up, right? Which is to say, right? Now look at the questions that are asked. The Dhamma teaching was for comfortable life, luxurious rebirth in a divine abode, right? So here, of course, the part about sila is the more that you do, or the more that you sort of taste it, right, the more that you would want to do, right? But that is one part of it. Right? The focus right here, right now, is the fact that we do not even on the first, or in the sort of the wholesomeness of the 7 kusalas, or those karmas, we do not harm.
Okay, yeah.
Right? We live on that premise. Right? So although I am not trying to fit in, Surameraya is not there. It is simply not there. There's nothing to say about it. It's not there. Right? I'm not trying to fit in something which is not there. But rather what I'm trying to say is Surameraya is not there. But we will also not harm ourselves. Right? In a way, or sort of advocate a way of being that is harming or damning to ourselves or to other people. The sense of awareness which is present, and from which, again, I'm not trying to say, that what I'm only speaking about, the way that we choose to live and behave. There are things that we will not do. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the alcohol. I'm talking about as a person, there are ways that we do not behave. For example, if we are walking on the road, right, and some shoddy fellow comes and says something to you, right? Are you going to pick up a stone and throw at that person, Padma? I don't think you'll do it. Although it will be quite entertaining to see Padma do it. I don't think she'll do it. That is basically, I believe that you will not do so, Padma. Maybe you will surprise all of us. But simply, that is what I'm trying to say, that persons who live by this ethic will not bring harm to oneself or put oneself in a position that one harms oneself or another person. That is what I have to say. You know what I mean?
Incorporated into the teaching almost every. Well, I mean, this type of addictions and things are all incorporated into the teaching because that is part of harming ourselves, isn't it?
I'm not saying that.
No.
But I'm talking about personal behavior and ethic.
Yeah, right.
The person, these people, these Brahmins may drink. Right? May drink. However, it does not mean that they would subscribe to a way of livelihood that would harm themselves or another person.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. That is I guess that is the value. Of course, as they progress in Sila, they would not drink, surely. Right? However, we cannot say that from the get-go that they would not do so.
Okay.
We can't say that. We must be realistic. Right? But, you know, Suramerya or having a drink is one thing, but getting so drunk that you're crawling back home is a completely different way of behavior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does make sense. Thank you.
Bhante, can I just say one thing, please?
Yeah, of course.
See, the way I took it, why Suramerya doesn't like feature in, because if you look at the Dasa Kusal and if you just look right conduct of the body, speech and mind. So when you take the body, you take the abstinence, the Samma, Vacha, Kammanta, Ajiva. So those three comes. When you look at the right speech, the other four comes. So those are the lies like, and the slander, Pisanavata, Musavada, Pisanavata, Parusavata, and then you get Sampaprava. So that is the 3 and the 4. And then when you look at the other 3, which is about the right conduct of the mind, then that of course the delusions, which is Lobha, Doha, Moha. So there is no way there that the 5 precepts and the Suramerya comes in. So it doesn't ever feature in this Bhante. So that is not a part of it. It's not right conduct of the body, speech, or mind, Bhante. So that's why you never spoke about it. It doesn't fit into that. We are not talking of the 5 precepts, Bhante.
Yes, we are not talking about the 5 precepts. We are talking about a certain ethic of mind, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. Of course, we are not talking about the 5 precepts, we are talking about an ethic of mind. So the person might sort of speak or keep to the 5 precepts, or the person might not, but the Buddha is specifically talking about a pattern, which is a different way, a singular way of practice, which takes one to stream entry. But of course, nearing to stream entry, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, when the Shraddha increases, of course, this person will not drink, because that person values the stability of mind, the development of concentration. But from the get-go, we can't say that from the get-go it would be there. We can't say that from the get-go. And I understand that it is not very monkly of me to sort of say that. However, we must sort of be realistic. You know, the Buddha taught this sutra to Brahmins at a town who approached him, who were living their mundane life, and all they wanted was, you know, having a house full of children. Look at what they asked for. Having a house full of children, having gold and silver. You know what I mean? So it would be wrong of us to assume that these people are going to be sort of are so highly motivated with sila just for the sake of sila. But the Buddha, what he's trying to do is he's telling, okay, you guys can have all of this. If you do this, you continue on and this will happen. And that is what sila is. The more that you do it, just as when you get used to giving people stuff and sort of treating people and taking care of people, the more that you want to do it. You know, in that way. Yeah. All right, everyone. So I've taken a little bit too much of your time. Yes, Damsiri.
Bhante, I have heard or I have read, especially the intoxication is actually considered as under Kamesu Vichachara, or what do you call this one? In this one, what's the translation you use? Respect for your body.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's indulgent in alcohol, he has no respect for his body. And so it's actually another way of looking at the intoxications, actually, when it comes to this. Because I read, I have actually copied it. It says, I copied it in Sinhala, but in Sinhala it says, Rahamera Bhima Rasakamehi Vasara Vardava Sirimai. So it's
Damsiri,
yeah.
could you, who is the author?
Can't remember actually, because I have copied it. I have copied all the 10 defilements, but
just check who the author is, Damsiri. Mokada rasa kame kila kiyanne rasa tanhava rasaya padanam karagana hataganna tanha.
Right.
Right. Rasa kama. Rasa kama is not the need of intoxication. Rasa calming, if you rasa kame padanam karagana Amere biwat eka suramere majapamanan dattana veramani sikkapadam kadenneth naha.
Right. Okay. It's a different, probably it's a different interpretation. Yeah.
Because for example, now I remember Venerable Nauni Aridhamma rode towards the latter years of his life.
Yeah.
He used to be intoxicated most of the time. Why? Not because not because he was taking the bottle, because his aristas, and he took a lot of aristas, had brandy in them. And I remember we used to make it for him. Right?
Yeah.
But if he was to drink, it was simply a concoction, a medical concoction.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right? But if he would drink rasa kamya, ekanne rasaya, rasa trushnava padanam karagana, if you are to sort of even eat like something like a rum cake or like a Christmas cake, only for the taste of it, and this can have the highest amount of alcohol in the world, but it will not break suramere.
Okay.
But if you are eating or drinking with the need to intoxicate oneself, that would break suramere.
Okay, yeah.
Right? That is very important. Chetana. This is where in the Vinaya Pitaka we talk about Chetana. Damsiri.
Right.
That is why when you said that, it was a complete no-no, because it doesn't happen according to the Vinaya.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
But check the author, Damsiri.
I'll check that. Yeah.
All right.
Another one.
One more thing I want to tell. In Surah Mere, it says Majja Pamadattana, and it says something that will make you pramada. So
Yeah.
So if you take a cake with sort of brandy in it, if it doesn't intoxicate you, even though it contains brandy, you don't break the precept of Suramere, I think, because if it makes you pramada, because if you get drunk and sort of start fighting, that is pamada.
Yeah. I think here, yes, pramada. Okay, when we look at true Mala, that is true, but we must also see what the intent, by what reason that we're taking. For example, now let us say something like this. We know through the law of pratisandhi, or what happens through pratisandhi, we have discussed the notion that during the time and period of pratisandhi, you get exactly what you want. Right? So, for example, if it is hate that is in your mind, the burning sensations of hate, that is exactly what you receive in Niraya, in the Apaya Bhumis, right? The fire of hate. Right, with the pretas, pisachas, kumbhandas, and all of these sort of preta bhumi sattvas, what we find is lust, lusting for these sort of different sort of smells and all of these stuff. So they are sort of born in these sort of gross places. Right now, the intention is very important. Now, let us say, even if you're eating, let's say, a piece of Christmas cake, for example, right? And you know there is an amount of alcohol in it, but obviously you're not going to be, dead drunk on a piece of Christmas cake. That's not going to happen, right? However, right, if you're eating it with the need to knock yourself out, right, that is what matters. Because that is the consciousness which comes up in the pratisandhi. Right? That is the consciousness which will come out in the pratisandhi to make you a preta or a yakka or a kumbhan or a pisacha or a person who has a low mental cognitive ability. Because that is exactly what you're needing in a state of intoxication, a numbness of mind where you're not feeling all of these things. Right? And that is exactly what we get. Right? So it is really with the precepts. Now, even example with killing, right? Let us say I take a knife and I just throw it for the playfulness of it. A very foolish playness. However, regardless, I throw it. No intention to kill, no intention to harm. I just throw it. I throw it out of my window. Goes and knocks a person walking on the pavement right on the head, kills the person right then and there. Do I kill? No. It does not happen. Right? That is the way, because why? There is no object was taken. Right? No person. Killing Chaitanya was not there. Of course, very foolish for that. However, no intention to kill. Hence, pranagata has not happened. Right? I take something. Right? I take it thinking that it is mine or mistaking it for something else. I just take it, or it falls into my bag and I take it. But I have no intention to steal. Does it become an act of stealing? No, it doesn't. I take it, I know that it is not mine. I take it, but with the chetana of returning it. Right? I'll return it. Viswasa gahana, right? Is it stealing? No, because I took it with the intention and trust of returning it. Yeah. So the consciousness, the volition is very important.
Bhante, also this taking alcohol, one of the dangers is that it numbs the nervous system. So your inhibitions go. So the other the other precepts get broken. You know, you sexually, your inhibitions go, you misbehave, and you get angry, and you can tell all those
Absolutely.
So that is why, and it affects different people differently. Some people take
Absolutely. Now, even with Sue Gray's report, 2 men have been fighting at the Prime Minister's office after getting drunk. You know, two junior people at the Prime Minister's office on Sue Gray's report there. Now you see your boss is there. He's of course also drinking with you, the Prime Minister of the UK. However, you know, you don't know time and place and you start fighting at Downing Street. You know, alcohol does that to you. And I think as we have so much of examples that people just sometimes can't control themselves.
They were seated on each other's laps also, because the inhibitions have gone.
Thank you for the extra.
In other words, right? So if you have a coffee machine, it's been left in a somewhere like a hospital corridor or somewhere, coffee machine just there, and people go and help themselves. Just go and take it, right? But then that is not given to you. What is they kept it there? But then what is that come under?
The coffee machine is there, so the coffee machine is not there to serve people.
But you were never told to take it, but it's there. People go and help themselves, right?
Well, I mean, I guess people assume that it is for the general public.
So it's giving.
Huh?
I mean, so it's for you. So it's with the permission.
Yeah, I mean, that will fall under Viswasa Gahana, with the trust that it is for the public, or with trust that it is for you. You take it. You know, but let us say, oh, you want, oh, this is for me, but it's okay, no one's watching, so I'll just take one. Now you've stolen. You vatapita balala. Is someone looking and then you take it? That's done. Yeah. So that is why it all comes down, even with the precepts, it has to be sachittaka. Panchasile kadennema sachittaka karma valin. Achittaka karma valin kadenne nahe panchasile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone?
Damsari, can you send that list? You said the 10 that yeah. Can't hear.
Yeah, I will send it to you actually.
Okay, thank you.
But in Sinhala.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Even better.
Hari. All right, everyone, then take care, and I will see you tomorrow for morning meditation. Take care and have a good rest of the evening, everyone. Teron Sannai.
Happy birthday for you at midnight.
Yes.
Yeah.
At midnight.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.